Android users, you can now have TYT in the palm of your hand. Our TYT app is available for download in the Google Play Store. Just go to tyt.com/app to find out more.
Donald Trump is aggressively going after his own attorney general again because of the fact that he not only recused himself from this whole Russia investigation, but he seems to be frustrated that Jeff Sessions hasn't gone out of his way to end the investigation overall. So he lashed out on Twitter again. And here's what Trump had to say. This is a terrible situation for you. And Attorney General Jeff Sessions should stop this rigged witch hunt right now before it continues to stain our country any further. Bob Mueller is totally conflicted, and his 17 angry Democrats that are doing his dirty work are a disgrace to USA. So that happened. Now,
let's just note for the record that that's illegal.
Yeah.
So it's not an exaggeration, it's not hyperbole. Obstruction of justice is when a person tries to block an investigation of themselves. So there's several different ways that you could block it. You could do witness tampering, you could try to bribe the judge, the prosecutors, et cetera. Exert an illegal influence on anyone involved in the trial. And so here is Donald Trump telling the top law enforcement official in the country, the Attorney General, end an illegal investigation of me and just end it. And so now his lawyers have unbelievably weak defenses of that going, well, he said he should end it. He didn't say he must.
Right.
Oh my God. So
one of the reasons why a lot of his lawyers have kind of walked away from him, essentially, is because he is difficult to lawyer for, right?
Yes.
He's a difficult person to defend because he goes on these unhinged Twitter rants that he self-incriminates. And so what ends up happening now with the lawyers who have either stuck by his side, or Giuliani, who is one of his newer lawyers, they try to do these defenses, but he's indefensible. So I'll give you examples. Jay Sekulow was asked about this, and he's like, the president has issued no order or direction to the Department of Justice on this, right? So to give you a further or further examples of how they're trying to defend this tweet, Rudy Giuliani said, he carefully used the word should.
Should could be interpreted as you should do that. I'm your boss.
Exactly.
And I told you should do that. Now, two things about those two defenses by Sekulow and Giuliani that are important. First of all, they're obviously worried that he just admitted obstruction of justice.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't say, well, I mean, he didn't technically order it yet. If he didn't do anything wrong, they'd be like, oh yeah, he ordered flowers, so what, right? Instead, he ordered obstruction of justice, which is clearly a crime. So they're saying, well, I mean, technically he didn't order it, technically, which by the way is now leads to part two. It's not true. Courts have interpreted Donald Trump's tweets as having the force of law. Not as in a law that was passed through legislation that went through Congress and got et cetera, but they're saying that his directives in exercising his powers in the executive branch do have force of law. That has been decided in other cases. Now, when they actually go to convict Donald Trump on these charges, because I mean, I don't know. I mean, are we going to let the president break the law right in front of our eyes? I don't know. It's a good question. Is the president supposed to be above the law in this country? No. If you try to fire the prosecutor prosecuting you on any crime, first of all, that would be hilarious. But second of all, yes, they would bring you up on obstruction of justice charges. So why do you not get to do it, but he gets to do it? That makes no sense, he doesn't. That's why these guys are like, well, I mean, technically he didn't. And then look at Giuliani's words. He said he should do that. Yeah, that's ordering. If your boss says you should do this, that's an order. Yeah. It's not optional, well, you should. He didn't say you could do it, he said you should do it.
Right, I mean, just put it in the context of any other person who is in a position of power saying to someone who's in a lower level that they should do something. So Cenk calls me into his office and we're about to cover a story and he says, you should look into this. That's interpreted as an order, right?
Or, hey, Anna, you should do the first hour today. That's not like, hey, Anna then goes home and doesn't do the first hour. And
it was just
like,
a suggestion,
yeah.
Come on. Right,
anyway.
It's crazy. So by the way, the weak defenses continue. And another great example of that is Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She was asked about this during a press briefing. Let's take a look.
Rudy Giuliani issued a statement saying he doesn't think this morning's tweet is obstruction because the president said Sessions should stop the Mueller probe. What I want to know is Rudy Giuliani the one giving the president legal advice on his tweets? And does that statement reflect the opinion of the president's legal team?
Look, the president is not obstructing. He's fighting back. The president is stating his opinion. He's stating it clearly. Once again, as I said earlier, the president is stating his opinion. It's not an order, but he's been, I think, crystal clear about how he feels about this investigation from the beginning.
I'm just wondering if you can clarify with this tweet from this morning. Is it the president's desire for first Sessions to unrecuse himself from the probe? And is it also his desire for the special counsel to be fired?
I think I've clarified this about 10 times now. It's the president's opinion. I don't have anything further.
I gotta give her credit. She's pretty good at what she does. I mean, she's a terrible person. But with that said, I mean.
Well, how do you defend the indefensible? And that's why she's pretty good at it, because she just stonewalls.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, it's just his opinion. The president ordered a military strike on Syria, but it was like his opinion. He said you should do a military strike. And well, wait, if the Defense Department doesn't do it, wouldn't there be consequences?
Exactly.
Of course there would.
So, and you have to take this tweet into, the whole context of how Trump has handled this investigation and what he has reportedly done behind the scenes to urge Sessions to behave in a certain way, to do certain things that Trump wants him to do in response to this investigation. So, according to The Hill, multiple media reports have said Trump privately pressured Sessions several times to reverse his decision to recuse himself. Let's stop for a second. Just to remind everyone who's watching, the reason why Jeff Sessions recused himself is because he had contact with the Russians in 2016. And so the right thing to do, Jeff Sessions, to his credit, did the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, to his discredit, part of the reason he did it was because not only did he have contacts with the Russians, which he shouldn't have had during the campaign, but he lied about it in his confirmation hearings.
Right.
So it was a panic move like, well, that's another crime, and you're supposed to be the attorney general, the top law enforcement official, and that's the thing that they impeached Bill Clinton over. So it's like, okay, look, I'm out. I'm going to recuse myself from this. Then Rod Rosenstein, his deputy attorney general, eventually later puts Robert Mueller as a special counsel, and that's what's driving Trump crazy. It's like, look, I told you on national television that I fired James Comey because of the Russian investigation, which he did. Another reason why his professional lawyers have already left the building. I mean, it's a case of a lifetime, and they're like, no thanks, not interested. Guy's a lunatic and clearly guilty, I'm out. So he's only left with fellow lunatics like Rudy Giuliani.
So I want to read you the second part of that graphic from The Hill because it's an important component to all of this. Now, Trump keeps incriminating himself over and over again in social media. So the question is, does Robert Mueller, the special counsel, use that as evidence in the case? Is he investigating it? Well, it turns out yes. Those comments plus his tweets attacking Sessions and James Comey are under investigation as Mueller looks into whether Trump has obstructed justice. He cannot help himself. For all of the support he gets from his base, these individuals who think he's a smart guy, do you genuinely think he's a smart guy if he continuously tweets and makes it evident that he is trying to obstruct justice?
Well, they never see it. So I want to actually address a couple of things there that are really, really important. So I've randomly read a story about brainwashing today. Actually, one of you guys sent it to me on Twitter. And one of the things that you do when you're brainwashing people, because I'm wondering what the hell is going on with this Trump cult. I mean, no matter what happens, they think, no, he's totally innocent and he's incredibly smart. What? How can? And he never lies. What? How, are you seeing the same things we're seeing? And the answer is no. And one of the things you do in brainwashing apparently is you isolate people. But that is what has happened in essence in our media. His followers are isolated on Fox News, where all they see is glowing reports about what a wonderful leader he is. They're isolated by the way social media works. So you get like-minded information from like-minded people.
Right.
And in their world, Donald Trump has never told a lie. You think they're gonna see this tweet and they're gonna see it as obstruction of justice? They're literally never even going to see that. They're gonna see it as Donald Trump had an opinion and he was fighting back and he's courageous and he's the only one strong enough to fight back against the hoax and the 17 angry Democrats. They never saw that those guys are not actually Democrats, that Trump made that up. That in fact, every person on that team that we know their political affiliation is a Republican. There are people we don't know their political affiliation. Did Trump just pick it out of whole cloth that they were Democrats? Yes, he made it up entirely, but his supporters never saw that. Now, look, this is really, really important because the fixation in Washington, D.C., both in the media and in the government, is neutral. I gotta be neutral to all sides. Do not be neutral to reality and the facts, because it will have devastating consequences. If in order to appease Trump's supporters, Robert Mueller or any other professional prosecutor, I don't want him to be biased either way. I don't want him to be biased against Trump. I don't want him to make up stuff. That would be crazy. And that would also be a violation of the rule of law in our democracy and our form of government. But if you have evidence against him, what I'm worried about is, well, I mean, the Trump supporters say that they're gonna call us names. And they say he's wonderful and he didn't lie, and they're really upset because this, to them, it looks like just fighting back and not obstruction of justice. No, you must enforce the law. Who cares what the lunatics think? And even if you think they're not lunatics, or what the Republicans and Democrats, who cares what they think? The only thing that matters is the law.
Yeah, look, I get what you're saying, but unfortunately, when there is good reporting, and lately, since Trump's been elected, there has been great reporting. I feel like the New York Times, Washington Post, they got their act together because they realized, oh wow, there have been big mistakes made, and it's time to actually stop playing this neutral game. But Trump has been so successful in delegitimizing legitimate press that it doesn't matter how much evidence there is in the reporting. It doesn't matter how accurate the reporting is. They have now been conditioned to just outright reject that information as fake news.
No, I've seen it on my social media accounts. I quote an article, maybe, I think it was The Hill the other day, and they're like, oh, The Hill, that explains it. No, I disregard anything written in The Hill.
Oh my God, The Hill is not like some progressive news outlet.
The Hill, if anything, it has definitely an establishment bias and probably a slight conservative bias.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't disregard what's in The Hill. I'd read it and I may make up my own mind. And they're not lying. You could say, hey, like they've got a certain perspective and it's important to know that perspective. But the people at The Hill or CNN or New York Times aren't getting together in a room and what shall we make up today?
And they think that's what's happening.
Because they've lost their minds and we're having a debate with people who belong in an insane asylum. So last thing, look, the panic of Trump is evident. The walls are closing in. I mean, and the closer they get to him, and he knows, Michael Cohen knows all of it. Manafort knows some of it, and he's under trial right now. The trial began yesterday. Cohen knows almost all of it, and Cohen looks like he wants to, obviously cooperate with the prosecutors. He's hired a Clinton friend as a lawyer. 4 people have turned on him already. I mean, we went and interviewed Trump supporters at the last rally. They think that there's been no charges. They're like 20 months and there's been no charges. There's been 32 charges. Okay, but in their world, they never saw it. They think he's clean as a whistle. But the reality is Trump knows. Trump knows they got him. So the closer they get, the more he's like, no, hoax, witch hunt, fire him. Because he knows he did it. He's like, you're not getting it, Jeff Sessions. You think it's terrible if you unrecuse yourself, or you think it's terrible if we fire Mueller. But what Trump knows that they don't know is the only thing worse is if they actually do their jobs and reveal what they know about Donald Trump. That to him is the worst case scenario. So he's willing to fire whoever he needs to fire and take whatever heat he needs to take to make sure you do not find out the truth.
Yeah, he is definitely not cool as a cucumber, as my dad would say.
A cucumber?
Cucumber. So,
indeed.
Yeah. So there's a.
He would also look at that tweet, your dad would, and go, what's the hell?
What's the hell? Yeah, 100%.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.